of the camera, so I have to go, huh? So it's been an eventful winter. Winter's almost over, we hope. But what we're doing today is working on my truck because it blew up this winter on me. Short story long, I was coming home from work late at night. Steve and I, we work in snow removal and we have the night shift, so we come home sometimes at 4 or 5 in the morning. One night I was coming home, I got onto the bridge where there's pretty much no off ramps, just on ramps at one point. And a big ass truck comes up behind me hauling snow. So I figured I'd get out of his way. I stepped on the gas. As soon as I got on the bridge to the point of no return, where there's no turning back, there's no exits, there's no getting off the bridge, and there's no run off to safety, the dash lit up and started singing me songs saying that it was overheating, low fluid. And then by the time I was halfway over the bridge, which happens to be on a pretty big incline, I was running at 40% power. I think the truck was doing maybe 40 kilometers an hour, pinned to the floor. And it all went downhill from there. I managed to get the truck home. I had to stop a lot, let it cool down, and just cross my fingers that I wasn't totally destroying everything or blowing everything up on the way. So today we did a couple tests. We discovered that the water pump is leaking. I'll show you guys real quick. So I'm halfway through taking it off, just pulling these bolts out, but you can see here it's all wet and it seems to be leaking from the back or underneath. Now, whoops. Oh yeah. There we go. So this is a 2005 GMC Sierra GMC, yeah. Sierra. Yeah. Motor's a 4.8. So if you guys have had a coolant problem or the same problem, stick around and we'll figure this out together. So I got my buddy Subi Steve here helping us out. What's up? And hopefully the pump seems to be coming off pretty good. It's wiggling, so it's obviously not stuck together, but it's leaking from somewhere. So it could be that the gaskets are, that's why it's not stuck. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hey, that fucking dust cover thing that just fucked me again. Yeah. Where'd you go? I don't know.
They'll follow one spot.
We were just discussing how Chevy makes this little plate, skid plate plastic deal on the bottom, and conveniently, if stuff starts leaking, it just hits that plate and it goes all the way back to the end, back to the engine bay, and you don't really know where it's coming from. Yeah. Okay. Different thing? Yeah, that gasket's fucked for sure. Whoa. Okay, it's out. Let's have it. This is engine side. There's like, this is like right here. Look.
Yeah.
Seems to be way off there. This side we can't see without the camera. Doesn't look very healthy either.
Pretty good thing. Definitely tells.
And then here, that's obviously pretty screwed. What do you think, boss?
Change a couple seals. Hopefully it should be good. Couple gaskets. Hopefully it's not the head.
Yeah.
Should be good. Leaking all along.
So, was that a crack? Oh, no. Apparently they leak from in here. This thing here.
This thing will leak. Oh yeah. Is there a way to take that off?
I don't know.
Or do they just change the whole pump?
That's what the guy did that I was watching.
Oh, okay.
The guy on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all way out of shape. It's supposed to fit in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to assume that that had to be where it's from.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're thinking maybe they weren't put in wrong or improperly, but maybe they were. Maybe they weren't put in clean. The assumption is that it was slowly leaking from there. When it got to a certain place where there was missing coolant, it obviously started to heat up a little bit because it wasn't working properly. The built up pressure, I think, probably blew that, whatever was left of that gasket right out, because that's where all the coolant, all the drips were coming from, was that corner. And everything else I checked on the truck checks out good. Like I checked the oil to see if any coolant got into that. It seems fine. It ran fine. It just didn't produce any more heat. So fingers crossed it's just the gaskets. If anybody here watching this has had this problem before, 2005 GMC 1500. Let me know. It's a 4.8. Hit that comment section. Let me know what the solution was, because chances are we're not going to get this back together today, because apparently all the auto parts stores are closed right now. And so after you see this video, maybe we haven't figured out the problem yet. Maybe we have, but just let me know. Sometimes I talk a lot for nothing. Yeah, it's green. Woo. Oh. Right there.
Good. I've seen the ones they have, like, you could clip on the
That's pretty neat, yeah.
Pretty cool.
So while everything's off, the pump's off, and we got room to work in there right now, Steve's just cleaning up the ports where that gasket sits. When you get new one of these, got to make sure that it sits nice flush, nice and clean. There's no debris, nothing's gonna lift it up and make any passages, because, like, check out this side, you can see where it came through. Looks like crap, but look at this side. This is way worse. Look at that, all that grudge and slime in there. There's even stuff caked up, like, focus. It's not focusing good, but there's stuff caked up on the inside of this little metal part where the gasket's supposed to sit nice and flush. So that's not cool. So we're hoping the only problem is the gaskets.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they explained what we thought happened, what we think happened, what probably happened here, but I'll show you the gaskets and how they look now. This one, it was sitting in there nice. It's okay. It's kind of not bad. Dirty on the outside, but on the inside it's pretty clean. The gaskets are still in pretty good shape. Now this is what we're assuming is the side that pumps from the engine back into the pump. So this side was all right. The leak was coming from the other side. Now if you look at the other gaskets, first of all, it's crusty. It all came apart when we took it apart. This gasket, we actually cleaned it up a little bit since, but it had all kinds of stuff, and you can see, look, it's not even round anymore. It's got like kind of straight piece there. It's supposed to fit in there. This is perfectly round, this little rectangle shape. This one, look at how deformed it is, like everywhere. And then when that was in there, it was sitting like this. When we pulled it apart, there was all kinds of like grime and gunk stuck in here between the little plate and where the gasket's supposed to be. So what I'm thinking is, when I got in that situation where I had to get on the gas and get out of that guy's way because he was hauling a heavy load, and I didn't want to make it hard for him, I stepped on the pedal, I boogied, gave him all the room he needed, and that's when the problem started. So what I'm thinking, what we're assuming here, is that big shot on the gas, when the truck kicked down and went from like 1200 RPM all the way up to like 45, it put a lot of pressure on the gasket, which was already faulty because it wasn't in right, or it was all gunked up, or over time it just built up and it was producing leaks. There had been a leak a long time before in the truck that was incredibly slow. I've owned the truck for about 2 years, 3 years now, and 2 times I had to put extra coolant in it because it was flashing up on the dash, low coolant. Now, I didn't have an overheating problem back then or anything, but I also wasn't in a situation where I couldn't stop. So it was previously leaking, getting on the gas, that kicked down, the motor spun fast, put all kinds of power, all kinds of pressure through the water pump, and then just blew it out, and it started leaking more. And so that would explain why when I got home, it just poured out all over the driveway, whatever's left in it. I went back the next day, I tested it, I checked, looked for blue smoke out of the exhaust, checked the oil to see if that was okay. Nothing was creamy, the oil, the gas, everything was cool. I put coolant in it, I ran the truck, it wasn't getting any heat at all, and then it just started pouring all the antifreeze back out of where I assume would be from here. Before we took it apart, we checked it out, we looked at it. I think I got it on film even, little drips coming through. Maybe not, I can't remember. But we squeezed the pipes and spun the pump and everything, and that's where it started leaking from. So fingers crossed that this is the only problem. Steve's cleaning that up right now. We're gonna go see if we can get some gaskets. Probably not gonna be today, the gaskets, because like I said, everything's closed, but fingers crossed, pray with us that this is the only problem. If it only cost me a couple bucks in gaskets to get my truck on the back of the road, I couldn't be more happy. I'm still working on the El Camino, and there's no point in, you can't get the El Camino to a racetrack if you don't have a trailer, because it's definitely not street legal. It's brand new. That's sophisticated, I guess. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna cause us big problems. Yeah, just to get all the little tiny spots there.
Yeah. Fill it in.
Let's just put the thing together, plug the holes, and we'll dip it in a bucket full of gasket maker. Seal everything. Whole engine, all of it.
What could go wrong?
3 minutes later, lights on fire, melts all the wires. Yeah, it's an awkward size. It won't work. We're gonna be able to remember where all the hoses and everything goes back. I was like, yeah, it's a Chevy. There's like one way to do it. Now, before you guys drop the comment, yeah, those holes are plugged. There's stuff inside sealing it off so that none of that crap that he's grinding off right now gets inside the engine block. So we cool. All right, so all said and done, we pretty much come to the conclusion that it's a gasket problem and not really anything other kind of problem. But since everything is out, the water pump, took the thermostat off, check it out. The thermostat, it's got a bunch of corrosion on it. So I'm gonna change that out too. That was maybe, I don't know. I think that's kind of what happens when you use regular water instead of that deionized stuff. This pulley was finished, the idler. It's pretty much seized. She don't like to spin. So I'm gonna change that one out too. Maybe get a new one of these, nice and shiny. Fresh one. And then we can put it all together. So like I said, I think it's the gaskets. These are what the gaskets look like. And this stuff is what worries me. We'll have a quick look underneath the hood. Can I get some lights on this? Here we go. So there's a little wet up here, but this is where the gasket was that blew up. So it probably sprayed up there. It's been leaking It's been leaking coolant for quite some time, but very, very slow. So I think the whole time maybe it was just leaking out here because this is pretty grungy and dirty down here. Everything's pretty actually nasty in here, but I mean, I've tried this all winter, so I'm figuring it started leaking there slowly. And then when I stepped on it that night trying to get out of the way of the truck, it just blew out, and that's that. So I'm gonna have to wait for parts. Like I said, everything's closed today, so that's not gonna happen. Maybe I'll run out tomorrow and try to find something, but that would require going to somewhere like Canadian Tire, where they're gonna ask you a million questions about what your truck is, and then take a million-minute time. It just takes a lot of time to get stuff from Canadian Tire because it's a lot of running around and a lot of stuff, and it's kind of far. So if I can get one at Auto Parts, maybe on the way to work early this week or something, I'll take care of that, and then we'll get back on finishing the truck. So we'll get this running and we'll get back on the El Camino. It's winter, was winter, we're getting to spring now, so I'm gonna have more time to actually film this stuff because, like I said before, Steve and I, we both work in snow removal, so that's why like the videos have been slowing down a little bit in the past and stuff like that. But anyways, we're back in it now. Summer's coming, the weather's getting nicer. It's time to rock and roll, time to get some stuff done instead of turning this thing into a shelf. So like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you haven't already. Peace.